Civilization 6 is coming to the point where the mods are going to start carrying the life of the game and allowing for replayability just like the Vox Populi mod did for Civilization 5. Whether it is gameplay mods, mods that create new civs and leaders, or just simple little UI text mods, the modding community for Civilization 6 is incredible, and it gives us all of these mods for free. Now, I'm finally getting around to it. I've created a video that entails all of my favorite mods that change the UI to either be more user-friendly, more intuitive, or just simple little quality of life changes that you didn't know you needed until you installed the mods. These mods are only available for PC players, however, so if you play on console, if you play on mobile, unfortunately, you will not be able to use these. But you can find the links to all of these mods in the description down below, as well as some of the different mod packs that I use. Now, before we start, if you enjoy Civilization 6 content, if you find videos like this useful, please subscribe to the channel. It's free. You get to see more videos like this in the future. And plus, it makes Gilgabro happy, and we can't live without his approval, so do it. Now, the first mod on this list isn't necessarily a UI gameplay mod, but it is a mod that everyone should be installing if you use mods in the first place, and it's the Enhanced Mod Manager by Final Freak 16. Now, what this mod does is exactly as the name suggests. It manages every single one of your mods. It includes all of your gameplay mods, your UI mods, etc. There are two columns. The one on the left here is for disabled mods, all the mods that you have installed but you have not enabled yet, as well as the column on the right that shows all of your currently enabled mods in the game. Now, when you click on the mod, it's pretty nice. It gives you all of the information about the mod, who the author was, if it affects saved games, as well as just a quick little description on what the mod actually does. There are quite a few different things about this specific mod manager here. You can sort the mods, whether it's just mods, gameplay mods, only cosmetic mods, your DLC, things along those lines. You can search for specific mods, which is pretty nice. Additionally, you could sort them by name, dependency, author, etc. It's just a lot of different things that you can do to make your mods a little bit more manageable, so you don't just have a massive list of ones that you want to enable and disable. Now, one of the best things about this that I really like is that you can create custom pages for mods that you wanted to use specifically in only some specific games. For example, here, I have a mod pack specifically for the Monopoly ++ mod pack that I use during my Monopoly ++ games. I also have one here for when we're playing BBG, which is a Better Balanced Game mod that I use specifically for that. And then I have one here that I set up for every single game, no matter what game I'm playing. I use all of these mods here, which is what I have. And you can use that by creating a new group of mods. You can also delete groups of mods too. So this is probably one of the best aspects of this entire mod here, is the fact that you can create separate pages of mods, and you can switch in between them very easily without having to add or remove mods. On top of the Enhanced Mod Manager is another mod that I have installed called TCS Pedialite. Now, what this mod does is it allows you to view all of the current active mods that you have installed in the game at that time. So as you can see here, if you go up to the Civilopedia, there's a new little icon that shows up, says mods and info. And this isn't the only thing that it shows. The main thing is that it shows the game and map information. So you can see all of the different rule sets for your game setup, whether it's a standard speed, how many civs, how many city-states, the type of continent or map type, all the things like that, all the different advanced options, as well as whether or not you're running any game modes. Now, I'm not running any game modes in this example, but they would show up here as well. There is also this is a little bit of, I guess, cheating. I don't know if you want to call it cheating, but I don't really pay attention to this. But if you wanted to know all of the information about your game, whether or not how much resources are in it, as well as like the types of features, you could find that out here as well. All the topography and terrain. Here is the main overview. Like, here's a simple little overview that it shows you as well. But the biggest thing that I use this for is mods. It shows you all the different types of mods that you are currently running in the game. And it shows them all right here, and it shows the information about the mod. So if you click on Better Builder Charges Tracking, it shows you the summary of the mod, as well as who created it, all the different credits, the compatibility of the mod, and so on and so forth. It also shows you the active DLC too. You can also look at your disabled mods too if you wanted to, but I mostly just use it for the mod section, just because a lot of the times while I'm streaming, people will ask me, hey, what mods are you running right now? And I go, oh, that's a great question. So I go here and I show all the different mods that I am currently running. Better Trade Screen is one of the mods that I've only recently installed. Well, by recently, I mean within the last like 2 months or so. But I should have been using it a long time ago, and I've watched players use it for a long time, and every time I'd see it, I'd go, man, I should install that, but I just never did. This mod, as the name suggests, makes the trade screen way better, as you can sort by the best of each type of yield. So for example, in my capital city here, it shows all the available trade routes I can get to my capital city, but I want the best one by gold. So you can click on all the different yields here. And if you click sort by gold, it shows you the best gold trade routes. Now the same thing goes by food, production, science, culture, faith, as well as how long or how short a trade route will take. Now you can also sort by each different thing. So you could do international trade routes only. You could do city-states that have a specific trade quest. So if there is a city-state that you can trade to from wherever your trade route is, you can get that here, as well as all the different civs or specific city-states. Now that is a really cool spot, but one of the other things that I really appreciate about this mod is that the same thing applies to the trade route overview. So for available trade routes, if you are looking for the best trade route that you can find, you could do that here. You could just sort by gold, but you can also do the same thing as the other screen. You can sort by international trade routes. You can sort by city-states with trade quests, as well as domestic trade routes, so on and so forth, city-state trade routes. And you can also sort it by origin, by destination, origin A to Z, etc. There's also some settings that you can change to. So approximate trader path will give you the absolute distance, and as well as trade priorities. You could turn those on and off. But yeah, I use this mod all the time. It is very, very useful. You can also do another thing here, that you can have a trade route repeat as well. So if I wanted this to go to Kerma constantly, you click on repeat route and it will repeat the route. Pretty neat mod. I really enjoy it. This is one that everybody should be using it, so please install it if you have not installed it yet. Now this mod by WLTK is a simple little UI mod. I also forgot to mention that the previous mod, Better Trade Screen, is created by Asdog. But this one here, this is a simple little UI mod that changes the icon for builders, and it just gives you how many charges are left on that builder's icon. Instead of having to click here and go to builder and go to builds, it shows up, as you can see right here, as a little flag next to the icon. Very similar to how scouts have promotions. Same thing with like units having promotions. It adds that little flag to the builder icon. This is just an incredibly useful little mod, as it helps especially with late game science victories when you are wanting to chop out a ton of projects, or if you're wanting to use builders, find the highest builder charges to use for production with Royal Society. So I would highly recommend using this mod. As you can see here, this mod right here has 2 charges left. This one has 4 because I have pyramids, but simple little UI mod. Highly recommend installing it. Now, these next 2 mods that I'll be showing, I have mentioned previous times in multiple videos. A lot of people have asked me what mods am I running and that are giving these yields, and so we'll talk about them here now. So the first one here is detailed Map Tacks. Now, I've mentioned in my tips videos that placing down map pins and using them for planning and organizing is one of the best ways and efficient ways to get better at the game. But with detailed Map Tacks, it adds multiple things to the map pins that I think they should just be in base game regardless. Now, the first one you'll notice here is that it adds adjacencies to the pins that you are placing down. So for example, this district here, it gives us, for a campus, +1 science from the adjacent mountain tile. There's a mountain right here. And then +1 science from each adjacent rainforest tile. So the way that campus adjacency works is that you get +1 science from every 2 adjacent rainforest tiles. There's a rainforest tile here and a rainforest tile there, so it's showing up on the mod. It will also show you where you cannot place things. So since we are playing Vietnam, if you've never played Vietnam before, you can only place districts on features on the features of rainforest, marsh, or woods. So if we try to place a campus down here, you'll notice a little red icon says must be placed on the correct features. Now this also applies to wonders as well. So if we were to, for example, build Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, a little red icon appears here and says must be adjacent to a harbor owned by this city. Now some of those can be a little confusing, or it does not work all the way correctly. So for example, if we wanted to build Ma Bodhi Temple, we all know that Ma Bodhi Temple must be built on a woods tile next to a holy site. However, this little icon pops up and it says must have founded a religion. Now we know that we can't place down an icon that says I founded a religion. So some of the things like this you can just ignore, because we know we'll place a holy site here. We're going to place a mod Bodhi temple here, and we will get a religion at some point. Now, there is another thing that's really good about this mod is that you can add hotkeys. You may have been noticing I am placing down the mods without having to go all the way down here. And if you go to the options and you go to key bindings, there's a new little section here added with this mod that shows you where you can add map tack key binding, a delete map tack key binding, as well as toggle map tack's visibility. Now, I have mine to X and Z, where you can just put down map tacks here all around, and then you can also delete them. And there's also one to hide the map tacks, which is very useful if you're doing a culture victory and planning out national parks like this. You're placing them all around here, and sometimes they can take up a lot of space. They're a little cluttered, so you can just hide the map tacks, and it is easy peasy. Or you could just press the same hotkey again and bring them back. So detailed map tacks is a must-have. It's very useful for planning. It gives you all of the things that you knew that you would have in the first place. So you could calculate, as I showed previously, you could technically calculate what your adjacency is going to be by placing on this tile if you know how adjacencies work. But it just gives you the information right there available to you, and it's very nice to have. So the second mod that I had mentioned previously but haven't officially talked about or put in a video before is the Extended Policy Cards mod by Aristos. Now, this mod does require better report screen UI to work, which I will talk about after this mod here. But what it does is it gives you all of the information that you can technically find or do the maths on, but easily available to read on the policy cards. Now, you want to know, for example, you want to know how much science you're going to be gaining by the card Natural Philosophy. It shows you right here on the bottom the actual amount of science that you'll be gaining from this, instead of having to go around, look at all of your campus adjacencies and add them all up and try to figure out exactly how much you're going to get. The same thing applies to, like, for example, conscription, where how much gold per turn you will be saving by putting and plugging in conscription. You can check out all of the different units and add them all up and figure that out as well. So on and so forth through everything like Praetorium, your loyalty per turn, so on and so forth. It shows up all along here. This is very useful it makes just everything a lot faster. You don't have to go through and calculate all of the adjacencies manually or how much gold you're going to get manually from all of your trade routes. It's just a very useful mod. Now, piggybacking off of Extended Policy Cards, this is a required mod to run that specific mod, but Better Report Screen by Infixo adds a little bit more information to the report screen. I think the majority of players in Civilization 6 honestly probably don't use this or even know this exists, but the report screen gives you a bunch of information all listed out here for, a multitude of things. For example, the one that I use mostly is the city report screen. It gives you all of your cities and all of the different aspects about your cities, like what districts are built in the city, the strength of the city, the happiness, how many amenities are in there, the growth. I use this a lot, especially in my games where I'm trying to figure out what cities need amenities, where am I going to get the amenities for them. Also, I use the yields report screen, which shows you all of the different yields. I use this for production-wise, so a lot of the times in science victories, I want to figure out which cities of mine have the most production that I can build spaceports in, and I don't necessarily want to click through every single city and remember it this way. You can just go up to the yield screen in your empire, sort it by production, and figure out which cities have the highest amount of production here. There are a couple other ones here that are pretty useful. The miners tab shows you all the different city-states and the yields that you are gaining from those city-states. You also have all of your different units here, where you could sort by unit name, their level, their XP, as well as all of your powered cities too. You can figure out what cities are powered, how much CO2 they're emitting, their population and their industry, and all the different things that are required for your city for power. So this is a required mod for Extended Policy Cards. I really honestly only use it for the yields as well as the amenities aspect. You could go a little bit more in depth and go through everything here and figure out all of the different things you are gaining, but overall, I tend to find that not as useful as just sorting the production or figuring out what cities need amenities in. Quick Deals by WLTK is a mod that has been very popular lately. I'd say within the last 6 months or so, every single content creator that I watch and that I'm friends with has been using this mod, and it makes the trading with the AI a lot easier, and there's a very good reason why everyone uses it. Now here, what it does is it takes away the specific bartering system that you kind of do with the AI, but what you can do is you can go to Quick Deals. It pulls up this little menu here where it shows you all of the things that you can sell, the items that you are proposing to sell, and then all of the AI here what they're willing to sell instead of having to go through every single person, trade. And for example, too, the biggest thing that I find really annoying is if you're trying to trade something, you accept the deal, it closes out and you have to go back into the make a deal tab here. So one of the best things about this mod is, like I said, it shows up every single AI, what they're willing to pay for that mod. And you can do a couple different things here. You can sort by just straight up flat gold. You can also switch it over to gold per turn by right-clicking here, right-clicking right there. You could, instead of doing one per turn, you can hold control click. As you can see here, it hovers over, it says hold control click to add more. So if you hold control, it adds it by quantities of 10. Additionally, you can, has a tab for selling all of your things, or sorry, buying the things that you want from the AI. So you could buy luxury resources, strategic, great works, and you can sort by each one, as well as taking out loans with the AI. So, you know, for example here, I'm willing to give them 22 gold per turn and they'll give me 470 flat gold, and vice versa. This is a fantastic mod. I highly recommend everyone use it. I use it all the time. You can figure out the maximum amount of gold that the AI will pay you for what you're trying to sell them. And I know there has been some conversation, there's been this like little idea lately that I've seen in some communities where that it makes the trading too easy with the AI, or some people even call it cheating, and it's really not cheating at all. It's, you can figure out this information, it's readily available to you. Like for example, if you go to the CQUI here and you give them 36 coal, they will give you, I believe it was, let me go ahead and pull it up here how much that was. This was 542 gold. You could technically figure that out by giving them all of the coal and then typing in 542. Now, you could figure this out by doing it the hard way, like we used to do, where you would put in the maximum amount and then you would lower it like by 550, okay, 500, oh, okay, 540, oh, okay, and going up by increments, and then you could technically find it just like that. Or you could put it into a mod that takes away that long, arduous process and gives you that exact amount right here. The same argument was made for Info Addict in Civilization 5, and this is rebuked the exact same way. You could figure out all that information in the game. It's just presented to you in a nice, easy, clean to look at format. Another simple UI adjustment here is better levied turns tracking by JVest. What it does, it just adds a simple little number to the units that you have levied from a city-state. So as you can see here, we levied a city-state. And instead of having to hover over it and see the 30 turns remaining, you could just see a little flag with 30 in red showing that there are 30 turns left on this. This also works for allies or other teammates as well. If you can see, I don't see any other civs that have levied a unit. A lot of the times the AI will levy units, but it does work with the AI too, so you can see how many turns left are on their levied units. So yeah, nice little simple UI adjustment. Better loading screen by Infixo gives you all the information about the civ that you're playing, but during the loading screen, now this isn't, I guess it is technically a UI mod, but regardless, it includes all of the civ features and abilities. So the civ leader feature and abilities, as you can see here for Georgia, for Tamar, they're both right here. It'll also give you the descriptions on everything else. So for example, Tamar also gets a unique unit, so you can see the Kevser information right here, as well as their unique building, which is their unique walls. This works for all of the civs. Now this isn't like a super necessary mod, especially if you're very familiar with the civs that you're playing, but it's a nice little quality of life change, especially for someone who streams the game on a daily basis. And I have a lot of people who maybe aren't as familiar with all of the civs as I am during the game. So when they're coming in and watching and loading up the game, they get to see all this information. So yeah, another little mod here. Sukritact Global Relations Panel by Sukritact. This is a mod that I've started to use a little bit more recently. It used to have a conflict issue with some of the mods that I ran previously, but since it hasn't, I haven't had any issues for a little while now. So, but what it does is it gives you all of the global relations by everybody in the game. If you've played Civilization 5 and you use the mod Info Addict, you'll be very familiar with this. It shows you who is allied to each other, who is declared friendly, neutral, unfriendly, denounced, etc. So you can hover over someone and see what their relations are to everybody else. Additionally, it also shows the agreements, so sending delegation, embassy, defensive pact, as well as like open borders. You just hover over them and you can see all of that information here. It's a nice little UI change, pretty neat, and I've been running it a little bit lately. And so while we are here, this is another mod by Sukritact. This is Sukritact's simple UI adjustments. This makes just some small quality of life changes. The first one that you'll notice immediately is the hover over the cities. What it does is it shows you what tiles you are currently working in the city, as well as what tile your borders are going to grow to. Simple little change, but I like it a little bit there. As well as there's a yield change, so yields are now organized, so where food and production are on the left-hand side instead of the center, into gold, science, culture, and faith. This took a little bit to get used to, but once you do, it's a really easy thing to get used to, honestly. One of the main changes that I use this mod for is the screenshot mode. And so over here, you'll see a little button that was added. It says left click to enter screenshot mode. If you click it, what it does is it gets rid of the UI, allows you to zoom in a little bit further here than you normally could. And you can rotate the camera around. It keeps it there, so you don't have to hold on to it. Whereas if you just did it here, right, it swings it all the way back. So allows you to do, take screenshots from different angles and stuff like that. You can also use, if you right click on it, it gives you a bunch of different options here. Right now I have it into fixed tilt mode, but you can do it where it hides literally everything and just looks like this while you take screenshots. Now, fixed tilt mode, if you take it off, this is about as far as you can go. But if you run this mode here, you can do a little bit of fixed tilt shifting, making it almost on top of it. Sometimes it will crash the game, so you do have to be careful. But allows you to get some cool views like this when you're taking screenshots. I really enjoy using this, but no, like I said, once again, this mod is not compatible with some of the other UI mods like Concise UI, so be aware of that. And the final mod that I'm going to be talking about, which is why I saved it for last, is the CQUI mod, the Community Quick User Interface. It's one that I literally started just using the other day. You'll notice that I don't use it in a lot of my gameplays because of how in-depth and how much the game is changed, but I am going to start using it from now on, so if you're wondering why things changed, this is why. This one is created by the Civ 6 community, literally. It is a open source project, but the main people that worked on it are Alexi on GitHub, Infixo, the M4A. There's a few others as well. I will list them here. Now, I'm not going to go over everything here because I'm going to save that for an entirely new video. But what this mod does is it literally changes everything about the UI in the game. And I'm sure there's a few things that you notice here instantly, is that the cities now list all of their districts. It also lists how many turns until the border expands. It also lists their housing right here as well. And if you go into the city, you'll see that the city tab breaks things down a little bit more visually appealing. Like for the amenities, it shows you how many amenities you have from the specific amenity source. So like luxuries, you get 3 here. Also housing, it shows you where you're getting your housing from. 0.5 improvements because we have 1 farm inside the city. Additionally, you'll notice another thing inside the production tab is that, or inside the city tab, is that the top of the city panel no longer exists. You no longer have the buying gold faith, the gold buying tiles, as that is just included right in here, right when you open up the city. And once again, if you played Civilization 5, if you use the mod Enhanced UI, you should recognize this from Enhanced UI, as well as another aspect here, which is the gold and faith buying units as well as buildings is added to the builder tile, or the unit tile, or the item tile, whatever you want to call it. So for example here, I could either faith buy or gold buy a builder, and they're both added there. You don't have to click and go all the way up here and scroll down. And the nice thing about this mod is that if you buy a faith buy a builder right here, it doesn't kick you out of the screen where you have to go back in and go back to the same spot. You can just sit here and click and gold. If I had a bunch of things to gold buy, you would see it. But you can just sit here, click gold buy, faith buy over and over again, and it doesn't kick you out of the screen, which is, it sounds like a very silly thing, but it is one of my biggest annoyances in the entire game, especially late game when you're just sitting here trying to gold buy all of things in all of your cities, and you have to keep going in, buy, in, buy, in, buy. It just gets really, really tiring, especially when you're doing it for like 2 minutes straight. There are a couple other things too that are changed. City states now put their quests right here underneath the city state tab. There are, you can see up here, all of our luxury resources are listed up here and the amounts that we have. Obviously there's the highlighting of the units. That's just to make them a little bit more visually appealing, and so you can see them. And then one of the other things here is if you click this button, this is a CQUI button, it gives you options to literally change everything about this mod. You can add lenses and allows you to change the color of lenses, like what tile is like currently worked being buffed, strategic resource lenses. Like, it gives you the ability to customize things to an insane amount. It also shows you what you can add to your gossip messages. You can take out gossip. You can turn it all on. There's also the trader. There's just so many things that you can change. Like I said, I'm not going to go through every single one of them. I'm going to make an entire video on CQUI, but this is a fantastic thing. There is one thing I wanted to show, is that it does give you custom hotkeys, which is like probably one of the best things that has ever been added to Civilization 6. When I first played Civ 6, I come from previous Civ games, and Civ 5 is my favorite one after Civ 6. But the inability to build a farm with a hotkey, to build a mine with a hotkey, a plantation with a hotkey, you know, building a road with a hotkey, it's just so, I don't know, it feels so archaic. It feels so silly. So the fact that you can just do that, you have to create a mod to do that, I think is a little silly, but hey, we're here, we've got it now. So yeah, this is the CQUI mod. It changes a lot about the UI. These are the main things that I wanted to point out. If some people may not like it because of how drastically it changes the game in regards to like how visually it changes it. I can understand that. It is a lot of, like, sometimes this might seem a little cluttered or overwhelming. So if you didn't want to run it, that's definitely understandable. But I thought I would go over it here really quickly, and like I said, I'm going to do a full video on this one. So it'll take some time to go through every single thing. So there it is. This is my big list of UI mods that I use in every single game of Civilization 6. They make the game so much more enjoyable without actually changing the gameplay of Civ. There are a few of these that I feel like they should have added to the base game. Looking at you, detailed map tax and extended policy cards. But I am glad that the modding scene and community is so amazing and fantastic that we're able to get these mods for free. So you can find the links to all of them in the description down below, as well as all the mod packs that I use for different mods in the game. This includes my gameplay mod changes as well. Yeah, I stream Civilization 6 on deity every Tuesday through Friday. So if you wanted to watch that, you can. I also have a Discord and a Twitter if you wanted to join those as well. And lastly, please subscribe to the channel if you've made it this far. You get to know when all of my videos go up, and the biggest part of that is it's free to do. So anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!